Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me at such very short notice, Charles, to speak at this event. First of all, my congratulations to Henry, Peter, Sissy, all the partners within ACFIM who've done such a remarkable job in going forward with this process of trying to monitor campaign finance. I'll say this, that Charles is quite right. I've been very interested in this issue for many, many years, and Charles and I have known each other for very many years as well. I must say, when Henry first came to me about, how long was it ago? About a year and a half ago, and said that they were thinking of doing monitoring of campaign finance in the forthcoming 2016 elections, I advised him, don't do it. It's exceptionally difficult to try and dig into and find out what candidates and parties are spending on the ground, particularly when there is no campaign finance legislation of anything to talk about. So I said, look, it's more than exceptionally difficult. Organisations in different parts of the world have attempted to do this and frankly not been able to do so. So Henry looked at me as if I had I was a bit of a wimp and that I wasn't going to help him at all. I said, well, if you're going to do it, then we'll try and help you work out how to do this. So they moved ahead with this, and I'll reiterate to you that what you'll see today is the product of hundreds of people throughout the country who've been trying to track down where and how candidates are financing their campaigns and what they're spending money on. And all of you who are journalists, you'll know yourself from your own experiences how difficult this actually is to do. This is not a process that's simple or easy by any stretch of the imagination. So first of all, congratulations to them for actually managing to get through this. And we all know from an earlier report that was handed out in January of expenditure tracking that ACFIM did for November and December. Excuse me, I hope this is not mine. No. That they'd actually managed to do what they had intended to set out to do, to try and track down expenditures by candidates and parties. And if you recall, at that meeting, Henry and his colleagues made clear that this was the minimum they'd managed to identify accurately from their campaign finance monitoring. In other words, their sense was that there could well be more being spent by candidates and parties, and that their monitoring was in itself restricted to a number of districts across the country, in different parts of the country. So they couldn't answer the question of what's the total amount spent during the elections by those candidates and parties, but they'd gone a long way to try and track this down in those 15 districts. They actually had people deployed, and in conversations they had with people at the national level to try and identify what was spent by parties at the national level. And I remember at the time people were astounded at the level of accuracy that was being recorded here. This wasn't something that was generalized or, oh, it was about this amount of money. It was very, very specific. So it's a remarkable thing that they've managed to do, and if I can hesitate to say, as far as I'm aware, it's a first for anybody who's been trying to monitor campaign finance to actually be able to achieve to do this. So I think in advance of their report we should actually give them a round of applause for actually getting this done. And I don't think you should underestimate the difficulties they faced with this in trying to dig out this sort of information and trying to accurately verify the information from multiple different sources, from the candidates, their opponents, from suppliers, from the parties, from agents, to trying to gather this sort of information. It is no small task whatsoever to try and achieve these things. So I'm remarkably impressed by the work of ACFIM in this area. And I think we should all be grateful for them. As Mads has said, hopefully this report will shed some light on the murky world of campaign expenditure and campaign financing. It will not be the final word on this, and for sure there will be other sources and other streams of expenditure that they haven't been able to track down because they didn't have the people necessarily in all the right places, and some of these sources and spending are exceptionally difficult to track. But it's remarkable how much they've managed to do within what they actually have been, what they had to do this with. As I said, this is a first for groups that have been trying to do this. I'm not aware, and I checked with my colleagues in NDI at our headquarters in Washington. We've got field offices in 65 different countries, and I've worked in many more. And none of us are aware of anyone who's managed to take this activity to this degree, to actually be able to try and be as successful as ACFIM have been. So I think Ugandans and people in Ugandan civil society should be very proud that it's here in Uganda that actually civil society has become the cutting edge in terms of trying to monitor campaign finance and campaign expenditures. So I'm not going to take up a whole load of time because Charles invited me to do this at exceptionally short notice, and I will revenge you one day, Charles. But all I'd like to say is a really warm thank you to everyone who has worked on this. Here in Kampala at the headquarters, they're being housed by Transparency International. To all the people in the partners down on the ground. The partners on the ground, they're listed outside, have done a remarkable job. They went into this well before anyone talked about giving them some support, financial support, and looked into this and tried to work out how to do this for months and months in advance, which showed a level of commitment amongst people in civil society that they really wanted to try and find out some of these answers that are asked when you've got this slip in front of you. It's a remarkable coalition that's managed to pull itself together. It inherits its interest in this from an earlier coalition called the Coalition for Election Finance Monitoring that was born in 2005. But this coalition, I think, is more robust. The fact that they've looked into these things, they planned well in advance to try and develop methodologies of trying to track campaign finance and to try and work out how they report it and how they analyze it. No small thing. So my congratulations particularly to all the ACFIM partners, the people that make up the Alliance for Campaign Finance Monitoring. And I think with no more ado, I will hand back to the moderator. I've said enough. I'll just hasten to add that I am not a representative of the Donor Accountability Working Group. People way above my pay grade do that. And it's unfortunate they're not there, but I'm sure they take a great interest in the work that ACFIM have done. And I know that my colleagues Niels and Mads will certainly be passing this back to partners in the working group. So congratulations again. I look forward to hearing the results and the report itself. And thank you for the small part that we've managed to work with you on. Today's your day. Thank you very much.